Hi, I'm the history guy. I have a degree in history. I love history. If you love history too, this is the channel for you. In the 1840s, new deposits of gold were found off the coast of Peru, and it spurred the largest gold rush in the history of the world as nations scrambled not just to dominate the new supplies in Peru, but to scour the world searching for their own supplies. Economies turned on it. Wars were fought over it. But I'm not talking about the yellow rock. I'm talking about a brand new kind of gold that was called white gold. And it so impacted the world that it changed the geography of the world and redefined our understanding of a nation state. And that is why today we are going to talk about the Great Guano Craze. Yeah, I said guano, and it is what you think it is. Bird poo. Mounds of the stuff, millions of tons of bird poo, and to understand how bird poo, and more specifically Peruvian bird poo, changed the world, we have to understand a little bit about the interworking of agriculture, economics, and chemistry. You see, the story goes like this. Countries need people, people need food. Food is grown from the ground as plants. Plants require nutrients, and so to a large extent, a country's wealth depends upon the fertility of its soil, the ability of the soil to provide the nutrients, to provide the plants, to feed the people. But the trick is, you can improve the fertility of your soil with fertilizer, and thus make your country wealthier. Fertilizer is made up of three key ingredients: nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. And as luck would have it, Peruvian seabird guano is very rich in all three. It all has to do with this thing called the Humboldt Current, named after Prussian naturalist Alexander von Humboldt. The Humboldt Current is a cold water current that comes from Antarctica up the coast of Peru. And it's an upswelling, which means it brings nutrient-rich water from the bottom of the ocean up into the warmer depths, which are usually nutrient depleted. This creates the world's most prolific large marine ecosystem with huge schools of fish like sardines and anchovies and mackerel. Those fish are then eaten by Peruvian seabirds like pelicans and cormorants and boobies. And because of the Humboldt Current, the islands off the coast of Peru tend to be windswept, which means that they are tall, dry, volcanic islands perfect for taking the bird's guano and drying it in conveniently mineable form, sometimes more than 100 feet deep. There are signs that Peruvian tribes might have been using guano as fertilizer as early as 100 AD, and there's archaeology on the Chinca Islands, the most prolific of the Guano Islands, saying that it might have been mined there in the first millennia AD. But we know by the 14th century that the Incas so valued guano that it was a capital offense to kill a guano-producing bird. That is to say, the Incas had laws to preserve seabird ecology 700 years ago. But after the Spanish conquest of the Incas, there was so much depopulation and loss of culture that the collection of guano as fertilizer was forgotten, and the guano was allowed to accumulate unmolested clear until the 1840s. By the middle of the 19th century, traditional methods of fertilization were insufficient to keep up with population growth in Europe, and soil was becoming depleted. But the study of organic chemistry was just catching up with the organic chemistry of bird guano. In 1840, famous German chemist Justus von Liebig was applying the study of organic chemistry to plant nutrition. In his book Organic Chemistry and Its Application to Agriculture and Physiology, he noted the potential of guano as a fertilizer. And then, in 1841, Scottish chemist James Johnston published the gripping essay On Guano in the British Journal of the Royal Society of Agriculture. He noted experiments where guano could increase turnip yields by as much as 2 or 3-fold. The demand was clear. In 1841, the first guano ship from Peru, bound for Europe, left with 2,000 tons of Peruvian guano, bound for Liverpool. And the great guano craze had begun. By the 1850s, Britain was importing 300,000 tons of guano a year, and America another 175,000 tons. A British officer visiting the Chincha Islands noted seeing over 100 ships representing 11 different countries loading guano. Ships could wait as long as 8 months before getting a load. An enterprising Irishman named Russell Grace had the idea to build a store servicing those ships, and made such a fortune that he moved to the United States and became mayor of New York City. In 1860, 433 ships left Peru carrying 350,000 tons of guano worth $15 million. Guano provided most Peruvian income between 1840 and 1880, exporting some 2 million tons worth $2 billion. And while all that money was certainly a boon for the Peruvian economy, it actually kept them from instituting economic reforms and made them far too dependent upon one industry. That really showed in 1864 during the Chincha Islands War. Spain, trying to reassert authority over her old colony and make claims on old debts, militarily occupied the Chincha Islands. At the time, Peru was so dependent upon guano money that the Chincha Islands represented 60% of the government's revenue. And by denying him that revenue, Spain was able to extort from Peru an agreement so unfavorable that it led to a popular uprising and a coup against the government. By the 1870s, the guano was running out, and Peru was nearly bankrupt. In the United States, guano was so important that the importation of affordable guano made Miller Fillmore's 1850 State of the Union address, and spurred Congress in 1856 to pass the Guano Islands Act. The act allows any American to go to any island not already claimed by another nation and claim that island for the purpose of mining guano, and the U.S. military will defend that claim. Now, this changed our understanding of the nation. Previously, the United States had only ever claimed territory that at some point might become a state. This is the first time that we claimed unoccupied, unoccupiable territory merely for the purpose of economic exploitation. And that redefined our understanding of a nation state and created the concept of insular areas. Eventually, companies like the American Guano Company claimed more than 100 islands under the Guano Islands Act. And while the claims on most of those reverted when the guano was exhausted, the U.S. hung on to some of them, and some of them became important military bases during the Second World War, notably Midway Island. We increased the size of some of those islands, sometimes 200% and 300% through coral dredging, in order to get them to accommodate an air base. And therefore, the Guano Islands literally changed the world map. We still claim about a dozen of those islands, and as territorial claims go 200 miles out into the ocean, that means the U.S. claims large swaths of the Pacific. And much of that now is part of the Pacific Remote Islands Marine National Monument, the largest protected area on Earth, 3 times the size of California, all because of islands claimed because of bird poo. In the end, guano was a victim of its own success. By 1880, it was getting scarce and expensive. In 1880, guano cost $76 a pound. That's a quarter of the price of real gold. And because of that expense and that scarcity, it drove the development of synthetic alternatives, which are what is mostly used today. But guano is making a comeback as there's more popularity for organic farming, and using better conservation measures, Peru is again back in the business of mining and exporting guano. And while the guano craze certainly impacted the world, caused wars, changed the map, created the world's largest preserved area, the biggest thing that it did was feed the world. From 1840 to 1880, it was the most popular fertilizer that allowed us to increase the production of food to match the increase in production of population. And that alone is reason for you to appreciate the value of the white gold. I'm the History Guy. I hope you enjoyed this edition of my channel, 5 Minutes of History, short snippets of forgotten history, 5 to 10 minutes long. If you enjoyed these 5 minutes and you want 5 minutes more, then please hit like and subscribe.